All right, let's go ahead and talk about last night's game. Very frustrating. I understand. A few things to talk about. Probably wondering why I have Aaron Rodgers pulled up here, and this is why.
5 letters here, just for everybody out there in Packerland and yourself today. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
Well said, Mr. Rodgers. So, first of all, I'm not worried. I know it's been a little frustrating, the opening to the season. Even the win against the Nets wasn't exactly pretty, and we blew a lead in that game, too. Spencer Dinwiddie had a good point last night, though, in that, at least we're getting up by 10, 15, 20, right? It would be even more frustrating if, we were getting blown out by 20. We were up on the Suns by 20 points, I think, twice. We blew a lead against the Pelicans. We went over that game. We even blew a lead against the Nets, technically, even though we won. And we blew a lead last night, a really bad lead last night. First of all, defense looks good. I'm going to keep saying that because I truly believe it. Our defense, I think, is fine. We held OKC to 19 points in the second quarter. In the fourth quarter, we had them in double digits, essentially halfway through the fourth quarter. The defense is okay. I'm not worried about the defense. I see people blaming the defense. I actually wanted to give my take on it. I was talking to a guy last night. I told him I'd make a video, and we were kind of going back and forth because essentially the comment I had left, or my feeling last night, was that I really missed Coach Carlisle last night. And I know maybe Carlisle's not the biggest, there's not a lot of Carlisle fans in the Maverick community, but with this, well, first of all, let's draw a clear distinction, in my opinion, between Carlisle and Kidd. Carlisle's a coach's coach. Carlisle knows X's and O's, I think, just about as good as anyone. Kidd is a player's coach. Kidd is more going to let the players decide. He's going to let them run. He's going to let them maybe more or less call the shots. He's going to let them have a lot of input, which, again, can be good, can be bad. When we're talking about professional sports, egos is definitely one of the things you have to control and manage. And Kidd is probably better than that at Carlisle, which I think a big reason why Carlisle was let go is that he is sometimes maybe not assertive enough when it comes to sticking up or talking to his players in some kind of way, where Kidd, maybe it feels like he relates to the players better in some way. Their demeanors are definitely different. But in my mind, my opinion, my 2 cents, Carlisle is a better X's and O's coach than Jason Kidd. I don't even think it's close. And the reason why, especially this year overall, I've missed Carlisle is our offense. Our offense has looked very stagnant at times, very stale, not creative, one-dimensional or two-dimensional in terms of, give the ball to Luka or whoever's in the game, pick and roll, drive and dish. That's really about it. That's really all I'm seeing. And with Carlisle compared to Kidd, Carlisle has set plays. Carlisle gets guys in different spots. Carlisle had wrinkles. Carlisle had second, third, and fourth options. Carlisle ran sets according to what the defense was doing, or ran sets in terms of coming out of a timeout. You can definitely, in my opinion, there's no doubt when we come out of timeouts, things like that, Carlisle has something drawn up. Carlisle would get Dirk the ball all over the floor. I just don't see any creativity from Jason Kidd on the offensive end. What he's been doing so far this year, a high school coach could run, a junior high coach could run. I don't see anything that they're doing that is getting guys open looks, getting guys easy shots, something creative, throwing a different look at the defense, reacting to what they're running. and drawing something up according to that. I think Kidd is more of a overarching style sort of coach. We have a style that we want to play. We have an overarching theory about what's going to get us wins. And I think this is very evident by the way Kidd doesn't call timeout. I think one of the biggest complaints people have is Kidd doesn't call timeouts enough, or he doesn't respond to runs by the other team, or when the Mavs are struggling, he seems reluctant to call a timeout sometimes. And I think that goes to show he's much more of a style coach. He thinks his style will win out in the end. And so therefore I think he just wants to let it play out. Which, sometimes can be okay, but going back to last year's playoffs and this year so far, Kidd, when it comes again to sort of reacting to what the other team is doing, seems to be a step behind or reluctant to act. Why can't we get Luka the ball on the post on a mismatch? Why can't we see more creative plays out of timeouts or inbounds plays? Luka's had about 3 game-winning shot attempts so far this year, and maybe one of those was just to kind of come down as quick as you can and get a shot off. But clock management, situational awareness, it just seems Kidd is lacking in that department. Again, I use the word creativity, and I think this is also evident by, or I think it's also evident by the way so far this season what I've seen is, a lot of times guys get the ball and they don't know what to do besides Luka. Like, if it's not a pick and roll, if it's not an immediate shot with on the first play set or the first wrinkle of the offense, I think discombobulated is a good word to use once we get past the first pick and roll. I haven't seen us run anything other than a pick and roll. Nothing. I sometimes we get it to Wood on the extended block or something, but I've seen nothing besides just pick and roll, pick and roll, pick and roll. And running a pick and roll with Luka is fine, right? But over a game, over a playoff series, people are gonna queue up on you. It's like my argument with James Harden that in the playoffs he's very limited because he has one of maybe 2 or 3 moves. It's either a step back three, or it's a go to the hole real hard with the Euro step or something and trying to get contact. Over a long enough time, if you do not have a more broad scope of things you can do, or a bag of tricks that you can pull from, or tools in your toolkit, however you want to use it, I can go with analogies all day. If you do not have some kind of diversified game or play calling, this is the pros. Guys are going to queue up on what you're doing. They're going to notice your tendencies. They're going to pick up on what you like to do and what you don't like to do. And I think that was very evident last night with Luka as well. Luka had definitely struggled last night. Get him. Get him. Good boy. Luka definitely struggled last night. And again, I halfway blame Luka and I halfway blame Kidd for last night's loss. If you see Luka struggling, you've got to move him around. You have to try something different. Again, just saying Luka, go, pick and roll, go, pick and roll, go. That only, that can work for a little bit or at times, or maybe if you have a really bad mismatch, but eventually the defense is going to change. They're going to adapt. They're going to do something else. And I think so far we've seen that this year. Besides the Grizzlies game, the Mavs get out to a hot start. And what happens? The defense adapts. The defense changes. The defense picks up on what's going on. The defense can understand, well, Luka's killing us. Let's hone in on him now. Let's make other people do things. And there's just no creativity for anyone else on the team, Luka included, to give the defense different looks, right? If we're going to use an analogy like football or something, you can only run the ball or call an A-gap run so many times before the defense is just ready for it. You can only throw the same slant pass so many times before the defense picks up on it. And right now, I just feel like defenses, yes, we've been struggling with our threes. That definitely has a factor in it. Last night we were 8 of 40 from the 3-point line, so that's definitely not good. But we have been shooting. I would say besides last game, we've shot I think 40%, 50% in some of the other games. There is just no creativity right now from Jason Kidd on the offensive end. I think creativity is really the best word to use. I just don't see any different looks we're throwing at the defense. The defense knows what's coming. And again, talking about the NBA, they are going to pick up on that by the into the second, the third, the fourth quarter if you can't run anything else. And even when Luke is not in the floor, right, we're still just running a pick and roll with Dinwiddie or Wood or something like that, and there's not really. Again, I mean, I can't even think of another set we've run or looked at that's not a pick and roll. I mean, you think about Steph Curry and Reggie Miller and these guys. How many times they start off the ball? They run them through a double screen on the baseline or something like that. And I'm not saying Luka needs to be running around like those guys, but can we get Luka on the block on a mismatch? Can we get Luka at the high post, the pin post, like we used to do Dirk? Can we run something where maybe we do a pick and pop with Wood and there is another back screen on the other side? There just seems to be, Kid I think is just hoping to roll guys out on the floor with Luka. And I guess he thinks that the guys are smart enough to create and play off of each other, which is sometimes possible. But with this group or this team, it is a lot of Luka drive and dish for a three. We have a lot of 3-and-D guys, which is fine. I'm okay with that. But you have to understand that, and you have to give your guys something they can play with. And so I was thinking about doing the game film on the fourth quarter, but I mean, there's only so many ways you can break down blowing a 16-point lead. So I thought this was more about. I think right now this game is about storylines. It's about overarching trends, and I need to see something new from Kid. We need to see something different. And I'm a little worried because I think in Kid's mind he's just going to try different rotations and lineups and hopes that's going to work. And it might. I don't think it will though in the long run. If you're still just going to run out different lineups but run the same play, it doesn't really matter. So last night I wholly put the blame on Kid, and I'm not here to necessarily say that Kid is a better coach than Carlisle, right? I mean, in my opinion, yes, Carlisle is a better coach, a better X's and O's coach. He requires a little bit more of a higher basketball IQ and situational awareness. But one thing I've always said about Carlisle is Carlisle will squeeze every little bit of offense he can out of whoever's on the floor. He will get guys open looks. He'll get you an open 15-footer. He'll get the mismatch in the post, on the wing, what have you. He'll get guys in spots where they can flourish or they can have an opportunity to score. A good example is Dirk, right? And everybody says, oh, we have Dirk, that's easy, right? Well, Kid has Luka, and it hasn't looked, anything like the offense. We used to have a very efficient offense under Dirk. And, one thing about Dirk and Carlisle is I very distinctly remember this when when Dirk and him were rolling. They get Dirk on that same little pin post, free throw line extended, corner free throw line. But there was plays, there was wrinkles going on in the background, right? People were coming off picks. People knew that a double was coming. When that double would come, everyone had a job. Everyone knew that, okay, if this happens, we do this. And then once that happens, we do this. And then once that happens, we do this. I don't see that with Kid. I don't see that with our offense. Many times when you go back and watch those games with Dirk, yes, when you have a weapon like Dirk, you make the defense play to that, and then you play off of that. And that's not what I'm seeing here with Luka and Kid. It's just a pick and roll. If it doesn't work, back it out, do it again, or hopefully we get the offensive rebound and we're just going to run the same thing. There's no let's run Luca off the ball. Let's get him in the post. Let's do a pick and roll, and here's the kick out to another play. And we're also setting a back screen or a backdoor cut, or we have someone coming off some kind of, double screen or something like that for an open three. It's just guys standing around waiting for the dish. And when that happens, and if the open three is not immediately there, our our offense is nowhere to be found. There's nothing after that. And when we had Dirk, and a double team would come, you could tell the team knew what to do. You could tell the team knew what the next move was, whether it be Terry or Kid, Chandler rolling, whatever it was. Everyone knew that, okay, Dirk, we're gonna get Dirk the ball in this spot. This is our matchup, right, for Dirk to do. And if Dirk drives, if Dirk gets a double team, if it's not there, right? Let's just say they deny Dirk, or they're immediately kind of sending help before Dirk even gets the ball, and they're kind of shading towards him. There was something that Carlisle had drawn up for that, right? And you can just tell when they would do that Carlisle would say, look, if they double Dirk, here's the pass. This is what we do. If they're going to shade towards Dirk and deny the ball, this is what we do, right? You could tell the offense was very multi-layered, multifaceted. It had many wrinkles to it, just like an offense in football. To kind of use an analogy, maybe more people watch football than basketball, but it's like the play action, right? In football, it's you give them one look, you give them a pass, you give them a run, you get things going, and then boom, you hit them with the play action with one route, and then a few plays later, boom, you hit them with the play action, but this time the receiver is going to do something different because this is what we're seeing from the defense. And I just don't see that with Kid in this offense. It's very stagnant. It's very boring, to be honest, as someone who likes basketball. This is what I mean by the word frustrating. It's frustrating to watch. I remember in high school we ran a motion offense. It was essentially, there really was no position. It was a just continual movement. You do certain things, and even that seems more big brain than what Jason Kidd is doing. Even that, just a basic motion offense, seems to be more complex and could create more things for our players than what Kidd is running. And even within a motion offense, you have wrinkles, right? Because you can only run the same play so many times, and you need to instinctively know, okay, we're going to run the offense, the motion offense, right? And this is maybe the one or two looks with our guys we're looking for. And the moment a defense reacts or does something different, there's already things built within the motion offense, different wrinkles that just instinctually you do when you see something as an offensive player or team. And you react to what the defense is doing, and you don't even really have to change the motion offense. It's just, instead of maybe setting some down screens, guys pop up, pass pick away. If they overplay it, okay, well now there's a backdoor cut. Now someone's going to flash to the high post, maybe give a dump down low. There just seems to be nothing past Luca pick and roll, drive and dish. That's it. I mean, that is literally all I've seen so far, and that's all I've really ever seen from this offense, even going back to last year in the playoffs. And so that's just my take. I was gonna break down the film of the fourth quarter, but I mean the 16-point lead being blown kind of speaks for itself. So I thought maybe storylines and going forward, what do I need to see? I like that we tried a different lineup last night. Powell got the start. Hardy got some minutes. I like the way Hardy looked. He only got 4 minutes, but in that 4 minutes he was aggressive. He looked like he wanted to go to the hole, which is, I always love to see from a rookie. Again, if you're going to mess up going 100 miles an hour, not 50 miles an hour. You will learn much faster that way as well. Powell looked good. I've been a little down on Powell in terms of his contract, but it doesn't mean he can't give us valuable minutes. 5 of 7 from the field, 13 points. I'm not sure if McGee is hurt. I did not keep up with that. Let me check that real quick. So it doesn't seem as if McGee was hurt. He must have just got the night off. So it looks like McGee just got the night off. Powell looked good in his place. Again, 18 minutes, 5 of 7 from the field. He shot a 3, which I don't like. 3 of 3 of free throws, a couple of rebounds, 13 points. He was also causing havoc on the offensive rebounding end as well. He definitely drew a couple fouls because people couldn't get position on him. Campazzo didn't play last night, which I thought was interesting. Looks like Hardy got his minutes instead. Green also looked okay, you know. Green looked a little more aggressive last night. He looked to score a little more, take it to the hole. So last night was frustrating because I thought we looked mentally better. Guys seemed more aggressive, which is something I wanted to see, so that's good. We shot 40% from the field overall. You know, I'm not, that's not the best, but, you know, again, our defense is fine. I liked the aggressiveness we showed last night. I feel like OKC was allowed to get a lot more physical with us than we were allowed to get with them. Again, that's me being a homer. That's a totally subjective opinion, so it's not as if it really counts or holds any weight. But going forward, I need to see something other than a pick and roll from Jason Kidd. I need to see something other than just a pick and roll, drive and dish. And now, if that doesn't work, we're scrambling to create something. And I know the threes have not been falling. Hopefully that turns around. But I'm a little worried with Kidd that, you know, when we need a bucket out of a timeout or it's a last second play to try and tie it up or get a win, when Luka's struggling, when we're not scoring points, you know, I'm getting a little worried that Kidd does not know how to squeeze every point out of this team that he can with just a good offensive motion and rhythm or play calling. And again, I'm not here to say that Kidd's necessarily worse than Carlisle. You know, perhaps being a more stylistic coach and a player's coach maybe pays dividends in the end. I mean, they did go to the Western Conference Finals last year, but, you know, offensively speaking, I missed Carlisle last night. I thought when we were again, I thought we ultimately lost because in the fourth we couldn't score. We couldn't get another bucket or two, and especially in the third. To be honest, that sort of end of the third period, we only scored 20 in the third, which is unacceptable. I just feel for the defense held them to 99 points in regulation. Again, you hold a team to 99 points in this league in this day and age, OKC included. They're a good offensive team, or a good pace offensive team as well. Holding them to 99 points is good. You should be able to win holding people to 99 points. And I felt like Carlisle, the difference between him and Kidd is he would have squeezed a few more buckets out of this team, a few more creative play calls, a few more mismatches. You know, that's another thing. It's like you don't have to get a mismatch just by doing a pick and roll. There are several ways to get a mismatch or get guys in the right spot. You know, I'd love to see Luka get the ball more in the post, against a smaller guy, and then we play off of that. You know, that's one thing with Dirk is Carlisle used Dirk almost as bait sometimes. Like I'm kind of struggling to think of a better term, but to draw the defense to Dirk, and then guys knew what to do off of that. And when the ball is in Luka's hand, coming up the floor all the time, and they're just going to run a pick and roll, the defense doesn't have to think. The defense is simply honing in on the one thing you keep doing over and over, and there's nothing after that. And I think that's where the difference between Kidd and Carlisle on offense lies. So I just thought my overarching thought last night was that I missed Carlisle simply because I feel like he would have squeezed a few more buckets out of this team and get guys better looks and in better spots. So that was my thought on the game last night. I'm not going to break down the film because maybe too many plays to go over. And, how many ways can you break down blowing a 16-point lead with I think it was 6 or 7 minutes left, maybe even less. Just really bad. I put this one wholly on Kidd and Luka, though. There's no doubt. So we'll see. We got a back-to-back tonight. I'll be streaming the game again. We'll see what happens. I want to see something different. You know, I'm all for switching up lineups. I think I will say this. I'm glad Kid tried different lineups. This is a very, I wouldn't say very deep, but this is a very, this team has a lot of players that are interchangeable, I guess you could say. And so I do want us to experiment with lineups early on. I think that's a good idea. Let's see how many different combinations we can look at for whatever reason. Maybe someone's running a little bit of a bigger lineup. Let's try this lineup we have in mind. Or maybe they're going very guard heavy. Let's run this lineup we have in mind. So right now, again, everyone needs to relax. It's fine. We will be okay in the end. But what I need to see going forward from Kid is some offensive creativity and some wrinkles, some different looks to the defense, keeping them honest, making them think. This will also take pressure off of Luka. If you can get other guys in certain spots or get them doing other things, again, running Luka to the post every so often on a mismatch, if he's got a smaller guard on him, and being able to play off of that, I think could be a good idea. Just something different, something on offense has got to change. We have got to become a little more creative. So that's my thoughts on the game last night. I'll see y'all later tonight.